We are finally going to give the old RX-8 some attention. If you can't tell, it needs some paint correction. Correction is probably the wrong word. I think it's beyond correctability. It just needs redone. If you saw one of the last videos, we've been kind of hard and heavy on the wipe-on clear coats. I had high hopes that one of those might bring this back around, but honestly, once the clear coat is this far gone, a top clear coat on top of this junk is not actually going to help. The easiest way to know whether or not you can get away with just reapplying a clear coat is to just get it wet and see how it looks when it's wet. The red S10 looked really good when it was wet, so I knew that the Poppy's patina would work out great, and it did. In this case, we are going to spray paint. This is touch-up spray paint from Amazon, but it's not just any normal spray paint. It's a tricoat, meaning there's a base coat, which is the color. There's a mid coat, which in this case is like a goldy, metallic-y, pearly looking, and I'll try to get you a close-up overlaid here. And then there's a clear coat on top. So it's actually 3 layers, 3 distinct layers. So there may be a couple actual layers of the base and the mid and then the clear. So this is stuff you can get on Amazon. It's called ColoRite. They make OEM color match paint codes, or they match the OEM color codes. This is the Mazda 27A, the Mica Velocity Tricoat Red, whatever. The roof really needs attention. The hood really needs attention. The mirror covers, the painted part of the mirrors, the tops of the fenders, the trunk lid, and the front of the bumper. Hell is that? All needs attention. Honestly, it would probably make more sense to sand the whole car down and just repaint the whole thing and not try to spray it on, because in the long run it might be cheaper, but I'm kind of just curious how well this stuff will work. Let me bring you in here and just show you how bad this is. '86 clear coat. Just gone. See that? Just awful. Roof, hideous. Trunk lid, just ugly. Now the rear bumper, it's kind of dinged up, but the paint is okay. And the doors and the rear quarters, they're fine. And man, I wish it was sunnier outside and the car was clean. It actually looks pretty good. Really, the whole car could use a paint job. That is, it's been touched up with crappy paint. But we really don't even know how reliable this car is yet. We bought it at an auction. We fixed the things that were wrong with it. We have it running good. We've driven it once and it did fine. So before we drive it regularly, kind of torture test it, we're gonna have to address this crap. It's probably worth mentioning that the clear coat that this kit comes with, it's just you call it a 1K, one part, single. You don't mix it. There's no hardener or catalyst in this. And in my experience with this type of clear coat, you don't really get what I would consider a factory finish. So in addition to the base coat and mid coat, we're going to use this 2K gloss clear. I've used this before with really good results. This is also obviously an Amazon product, so we're just going to substitute out this guy and run this. This is a little bit extra cost, but I think the results will be worth it. It's like 20 bucks a can, so we bought 4 or 5 cans. All right, so I'm not going to show you all the prep work, but everybody knows the quality or how well it turns out really all depends on the prep work. So we're going to start sanding this down. And once it's sanded and prepped and taped off, we'll probably come back and record the spraying process. So dry top, wet top. See, if this could be saved without new paint, that would look nice and shiny and a consistent red. That is a pretty good sign that it needs more in-depth attention. You'd want it to look like that all the way across. Not like that. Looks like the surface of the moon. So we're gonna wash it real quick before we start sanding. That way we're not grinding any dirt into our paint. All right, a couple hours later, and she's all sanded down. All the clear coat that was flaking, and then anything that was close to clear coat that was flaking has been removed. I just don't know if I'm gonna have enough paint. So we're gonna continue to, now we're gonna clean it off because it's super dusty and I'm completely pink. Literally from head to toe, pink. And then we're going to start prepping it, get it clean with degreaser and wax remover and stuff, and then tape it off and start getting it in primer. So here's what we're going for. It looks very orange on the camera, but it's mostly red with like a goldish, bronzy reflection. But anyway, so you can tell the quarters and the doors and even most of the fender are in really good shape, finish-wise. We just got her washed. Now let's get it dry. All right, so we brought her in the shop here. Had to put her brother outside for a bit so we can get this thing properly cleaned and taped and stuff. So now we're going to just hit it with some flash cleaner to make sure we've got all the dust and sanding residue and crap fully off, and you'll know you're done when you stop seeing, you know, the color on your towel. So this is the second time I'm going through and hitting it with some glass cleaner, and I think next we will start taping. Okay, she's masked mostly. Probably do a little bit more masking, just a little bit before we start, but I'm out of time for the day. So we are going to call it, but when I come back next weekend, it'll pretty much be ready to start the primer, base coat, mid coat, clear coat. This is kind of a weird deal. I didn't want to paint the whole fender. I hope that doesn't look awful. Didn't really have a good way to terminate it. Probably would have made more sense to go straight across and limit the amount of side by side, new to old. But I don't know. I may change this. I may follow this body line and then go up. Who knows? We'll see. All right. Almost there. Okay, it's a few days later. I now have an opportunity to put some of the primer down. A couple quick changes. Y'all forgot to remind me I didn't tape off the mirrors, so knock that out real quick. I brought the taping on the fender in a little bit. I know I should tape, or I should paint the whole fender, but I don't want to paint the whole fender. I'm just trying to fix what's bad. And now you'll have a good side-by-side comparison, the original paint versus the Rattle can paint. That's why I'm doing that. Shop conditions. I was going to hang plastic all the way around, but quite frankly, I just don't have the time. So I swapped a little, and I'm gonna have a fan going and a bug zapper because it's getting dark, the moon, and I'm gonna try to, I know I can't keep the bugs out, but if the bugs come in, maybe at least they'll go over there. Sitting just for a few days. We've got spiders. There's just tons of little moths and stuff because usually the chandelier's on. These little guys, what the hell? Imagine those footprints walking all through this. So I'm gonna air it down, sweep it again. I'm gonna wet the floor, going to spray away it. Then I'm going to wax and grease remove it. And I'm gonna shut the doors, turn on the fan, and we are finally going to put the primer down. All right, so it's in primer, mostly. Some of it looks okay, some of it looks like that. Spiders are coming out of the woodwork on this thing. Luckily, that little bastard's not leaving any paw prints. But, yeah, I was originally hoping that we could get it to a state today where I could start laying the color down, but I think it would probably be wiser at this point to let it cure, sand it, re-clean and prep it, and then do the base coat. But once we get to that point, we'll be able to do the base coat, mid coat, clear coat, all in one go. This was 6 cans of Harbor Freight primer. What do they call it? Iron Armor filler primer. It sucked, kind of. The colors weren't the same, and something about the can made it not work with this thing. So my fingers in some pain. But it, it went on pretty flat. The only places that we had some runs or some splatters were where my finger got tired and I went to the old thumb and got my thumb in front of the nozzle, and it kind of spit up a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. It kind of looks like hell from this angle, but that's just because the different colors, and when I was running out, I kind of just dusted it on there. We got two coats-ish on the whole thing. So we'll come back, hopefully, gosh, it'll probably be 2 days. We'll let this cure, then we'll come back with the color. All right, today's the day. It took a little longer than expected, mostly because I actually tried to prep this halfway decent, unlike how I usually do things, and so I underestimated how much time it would take. So it has been fully primered, sanded, cleaned, and I just finished the last cleaning, degreasing, tack clothing, and it is now bone dry and as clean and as prepped as anything that will ever happen under this roof. It's a little on the chilly side today, so I've had the propane tank warming up the shop for about 2 hours. I think we're just above 60 degrees in here right now. So as much as I want to leave that on, I'll probably shut that off for safety reasons. And we're gonna hit it with a time lapse. As a reminder, we're using this Amazon ColoRite base coat. It's kind of funky looking because I was heating it up in some warm water a few minutes ago. This is gonna go on first. 2 coats of this. It's supposed to match the factory color. And then once that goes down, we will immediately follow with the pearl metallic-y mid coat. So we'll jump back to that when it's time. But for now, cross your fingers. Hope no more spiders appear. I've already killed about 10 on the body this morning. And we're gonna jump into the time lapse. Little bastard was hanging right over the car. I tell you what. All right, so we got about 2 coats of the base down, and unfortunately, we have some not perfect results. So it's starting to dry and get a little matte, which is what it's supposed to do, but we had a serious problem with spitting cans. Unfortunately, at this point in the process, there's just not a whole lot I can do about it without being seriously set back, especially considering I'm out of the base coat. So we're gonna roll with it and hope that it's not the end of the world, but keep in mind, there's something I should mention. I use 2 different cans. So this is the stuff you get on Amazon, ColoRite. And this is some stuff I found on a different website. I initially didn't buy enough of the Amazon stuff, and then when I went back for it, I couldn't get it in time. So I went to this website and it said I had it in stock. So I bought this. The Amazon cans, this stuff came out perfectly. I did not have a single drip, drop, or spit up out of the ColoRite cans. These, absolute mess. Yeah. And there's paint all over the floor, paint all over my shoes. So, and I don't know what it is. Unfortunately, I cannot recommend the R&E stuff, but I was impressed. This stuff went out perfectly. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough of that. If I'd known now what I knew then, I would have ordered early, and I've ordered enough of that. But anyway, it is what it is. We're gonna live with it. Next is the mid coat. It says you're supposed to let this second layer of base coat dry for, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then you hit it with the base coat and with the mid coat. And then the mid coat, you basically just put it on as heavy as it takes to match the factory paint. Yikes. So I took a picture of the factory paint on my other phone so that we can slowly layer this stuff on until we kind of get the desired result. We're gonna wait a few more minutes so we can let all these blobs dry. We're gonna hit it. We'll go time lapse on the mid coat. All right, the mid coat is on. It's been drying for about 20 minutes. We definitely have an inconsistent sheen, but the metallic is nice. The pearl, I guess, the mid coat actually looks pretty good. It's just not all consistent. I mean, that's not bad. And you know, we talked about matching the factory pearl. There wasn't no matching it. I just put on every coat I had, or every can I had. Similarly, the R&E mid coat dripped all over the place, and the ColoRite mid coat did not. So, you know, that roof looks a little rough. We're gonna wait a few more minutes and we're gonna put on the clear coat, the 2K clear. You can see here what looks like cellulite. I think it just got a little too aggressive with the DA. Whoops. When we put on the clear, I'll reposition the camera probably to put it about right here so you have a little bit better look. But yeah, we're about to hit it with that. All right, time for the clear. This first can we won't do time lapse because hopefully this will go quick and it'll make the biggest difference, but probably not. crap. Gotta go on a letter. Oh yeah, that's better. I go too fast. Go too fast. I'm not gonna have enough. Maybe. Oh, I've got to run. What the hell is that? Big water drop right there in the paint. Where did that come from? All right, you've seen enough. Okay, clear's on. I had 4 cans. That was really just enough to do 1 heavy coat and then 1 light coat. It worked okay. Much better quality can. No drips. But I do feel like I wasn't able to get the full can out of the clear coat. I felt like there was about a 1/4 can left in each one as I started to peter out, but you can see it's got a nice shine to it. A lot of orange peel. But we'll let that set up, cure. Look, a little light spot right there. I didn't get enough clear. But, you know, Rattle can. Am I right? We'll let it cure. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll peel the plastic and tape off. We'll see how similar she looks to factory. All right, it's the next day. Let's see how she looks. Ooh, decent from 10 feet. Put the light on. Yeah, well, you know, the same as it looked yesterday. We'll get it out in the sun and we'll decide whether or not it makes sense to wet sand and buff. I don't know if it's worth it. Let's get this plastic off, see how it compares. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wet sand. Old Jacker here, he wants a mirror finish, so we're gonna go 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and then we will get the buffer out and cut and buff and all the good stuff. Looking better already. You can see here where we've already wet sanded with whatever that is, 2,000 versus what it looks like over here. All right, we just finished the first round of 2,000 grit, and you can see a lot of that orange peel is gone. Much better definition. So now we're gonna go to the 3,000. Let's just put Jackson's on backwards. That'd been fun. Then we'll buff it, wax it, polish it. All right, 3,000 grit's done. Now we're gonna take the plastic off, start buffing. But we got most of the orange peel out. Not all of it, but most. All right, guys, so skipped a step or two. Nothing major. Last you saw, we were wet sanding. We did it with 2,000 and 3,000 grit, trying to get some of that orange peel out, and I think we did a pretty good job. After that, we removed the masking, and what do you know? Honestly, it would probably make more sense to sand the whole car down and just repaint the whole thing. Well, the rattle can color looks great and is probably what the car looked like when it was new. Unfortunately, that's not what it looks like anymore. And you guys are probably just cringing looking at this. And I knew that was going to happen. I just thought the colors would be a little bit closer. I didn't consider how much fade we would endure. If you look in the jam, the new color is much closer to the original color, the un-UV baked color, than the current exterior color. Should have seen it coming, but that's just how it goes. The good news is that the spray cans have turned out pretty good so far. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna buff and polish it. We're gonna see how it looks, and then we may treat these sections where the old meets the new. We're not really gonna worry about body gaps. Where the old meets the new, and that part, and that part. Once we have it all polished and buffed and we see what we're dealing with, I may come back and sand a segment and try to blend it a little bit. Because I didn't do the fold over paper method. I didn't do anything like that at all. I just obviously did a hard straight line. And once it's polished, it may not be that big of a deal. What really needs to happen is I paint the whole car, but I'm not really interested in that, especially considering I don't know how long this car is going to hold up. We haven't even really daily driven it yet. So next, I'm going to start polishing, cutting, buffing, waxing, just the old paint, just the new paint, and then we'll see. Because I haven't had a chance to clay bar the old paint. I don't really have time for that. I've got like 16 projects I'm working on right now, and I just need to get this ready. So on to the paint buff. So this is what the surface of the new paint looks like after a 3,000 grit sand. You can tell there's gonna be some orange peel left, but it's way better than what it was. We're gonna use Meguiar's 105. not gonna show all this. I don't really know what I'm doing with this stuff, so I'm just gonna go to town. All right, about halfway done with this guy. Just wanna show you real quick. So this is after we hit it with the 105. This is before, this is just a sanded. So wet sand, cut, whatever the ultra cut compound. And we're gonna go back with the polish. But the difference between this and this is so good, I'm pretty hopeful that the polish is really gonna make this look good. Yeah, I'm getting more of it off of the new paint than on it. All right, we're done with the 105. You can see it's better. Roof done, mirrors done. Got a great little two-tone paint job. I should have at least angled that so it looked like intentional. The roof is rough. The roof doesn't look nearly as good as the hood, the fenders, or the trunk lid. But we're not done yet. We've got a little divot right there. So now we're gonna hit it with the mirror glaze. It's only about a quarter of a bottle. I'm probably not gonna have enough. So we'll get started though. We'll see if it's enough. I use way too much of the cutting compound, so maybe less is more. Well, look who's back in plastic. Damn it. We're gonna try to fix this. I didn't even finish the cutting and buffing because I knew that we were gonna have to revisit this obvious problem. So it's been a couple weeks and I've kind of been debating about what to do. And I think what I'm gonna, instead of redoing the whole thing, I'm going to just try to 400 grit these hard lines. There's 3 on each side. This one's pretty small. This should be pretty easy. This one is heinous. And honestly, there's another body line right here on this wheel arch where it's going to be old versus new, but it blends a little bit better than that. I mean, the paint came out good. The quality is fine. Obviously, the orange peel is not insignificant, but you can tell that the color is good. So we're going to try to just smooth that out, and then we are going to blend it. Well, then I'm gonna hit this with the scuff pad, or I'll hit the whole thing with a scuff pad, and then we're gonna take the red and we're just gonna try to feather it a little bit, which is what I should have done in the first place. And I don't know if this is even enough area to properly feather, but we are going to try. It's gonna look better than this. It may still look obvious, but it won't look like some drunken clown did that. No offense to myself. While we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand these headlights because since we're gonna have another can of 2K clear out and it's not gonna take much to hit these 3 little spots, we might as well try to refresh on the old headlights. So we're pretty much the same on all 3 sides. Sand, scuff, blend, feather, blend. All right, so we got it prepped, sanded, taped, cleaned, de-waxed and greased, and we are pretty much ready. Here's the thought process. We kind of sanded down that conglomeration of disaster and bad ideas with some wet sand 800, not the 400. Got it smooth. Then I took a gray Scotch-Brite 3M pad and kind of feathered the edges. And then we're doing this paper foldy thing that I saw Chris Fix do years ago. So if this doesn't work, it's his fault. So what we don't want to have happen is try to fix this one line by creating 2 more. So we're gonna try to concentrate the red here in the middle, feather it both ways, and since this is a 3-layer thing, we'll probably just really focus the red in the middle, and then we'll really try to blend the mid coat. And that's because it's got a little bit of the sparkly, translucent stuff. So All right, we're ready to paint. All right, we did it. Base is on, mid coat's on, clear is on. And what is immediately apparent is I did a real shitty job sanding that line down. But in the grand scheme of things, much less visible. I don't think I was conservative enough on the feathering, but you can see here that it does fade into the darker color. Right there at the bottom, you start to get into that orange. I should have started feathering a little higher, but this is gonna be much less obvious. Now, I did have some problem spots. I just don't even, this piece started to crackle on me. Why does that even happen? Not super obvious. Not as obvious as the two-tone I had, but not great. Did it really bad right here. Oh, that looks absolutely awful. Looks like the bottom of my feet. But we'll see what happens. It may not be that bad. This one came out pretty good. Had a little bit of crackle here too. And I didn't blend it quite good enough. Here you see a line. Perfect. Headlights came out nice. Oh good, I got runs. Should have left it at one coat. I should just need to put the spray paint down. What I need to do. If I were to just paint an entire panel, this would be really decent results. It's all this trying to blend things that really screwed me up. Guys, it has been a solid minute since we worked on this car last, or since the last clip that you saw. The intent was to immediately get it completely ready and finished and wrap it up. But man, when you've got 3,900 cars and sometimes stuff gets shuffled around on you. Anyway, where we left off, we wet sanded and then we cut and buffed the car. But man, it didn't work well. You can still see a lot of the wet sanding byproduct, and that should all buff out. So I don't know if I just was using the wrong pad or if I just wasn't being aggressive enough. I was really worried about burning through. So we're going to try it again. One thing and it's completely, I mean, it looks fine. Like I could leave it like that and it would be good, but that's not really what this video is about. It's, can the spray can paint, is it good enough to use on, to match a factory metallic, tricoat? And I'm gonna show you this part right here. This is a section of it that I know that those lines are horrible, but this wasn't sanded. We sanded before we tried to touch up my botched blend attempt, and now I've got an even worse botched blend attempt, but that's fine. But I wanted to show you that high gloss metallic red, that's spray paint. It looks good. Now this is how the factory color has faded over the years, and that's why my plan didn't really work out. But originally, that's what the car looked like, and that stuff is pretty good. So I'm basically gonna try to get to that level of sheen. You can see the difference in the light. So we're gonna hit it one more time with the polisher. Hopefully bring it around a little bit. All right, it is cold as heck today, but the sun just came out. I just pulled this thing out of the shop after cutting and buffing it one more time. And here's what we're working with. I didn't do a great job. There's still a whole lot of orange peel, and there's a bunch of dried, what do you call it? polishing compound. Just a little flex from where I was doing the roof. I haven't waxed it, but you can see that metallic in there is really nice. Does it match perfectly? No. But that's not the fault of the rattle can. That's just what happens, man. If I'd painted this whole thing, this looks way better outside in the sunlight than it does in the shop. You can see it's not perfect, but man, this is worlds better. No compressor needed. We'll leave links where you can get it. Lots of scratches. Apparently I had a boulder in my rotary pad. Well, what? I wouldn't run, just walk. Well, hope this helps y'all. Thanks for watching.